Good evening, friends, and you were watching Israeli News Live.
Thank you very much. That's my little girl, Ariella. You can now sit down back there if you would, and we're going to get right into the broadcast, friends, here this evening. Several things are going to be going on, not too long of a broadcast, and I do believe that my little girl is going to end up being a journalist. You should see her when she's really on fire. She's actually wanting to do a short broadcast about a documentary that she watched, that she came to me very upset, very disturbed about. What was the name of that documentary?
A Fall from Freedom.
A Fall from Freedom. You guys may want to watch that. She is an advocate, animal rights, animal lover, and she's always loved Shamu, the dolphins, things like that at SeaWorld. But when she saw the documentary A Fall from Freedom, she told me, Dad, I've got to make a video about this. I've got to warn people so that they can know what really happens to the dolphins and to the killer whales that are brought to these different parks around the world. If you only knew what happens to them. And she is very much wanting to do that. We're going to get to this in just a moment here about the Syrian Christian the BBC shared here with, and I'm going to play what this man says. I'm going to read to you what he says, because his words are so prophetic. It's absolutely amazing. But before I do, there was one gentleman that had posted live leak the video footage here of these soldiers, and he said they're Ukrainian because they're speaking the Ukrainian language. Now, I realize that that is a possibility as well. And yet we did, as I shared with you, there is a lot of reports from Russian news already that U.S. and Canadian forces are in the area working with the Ukrainian forces as mercenaries. Keep in mind as well, we have well over 1 million Ukrainian citizens here in the United States since the collapse of the Soviet Union. They have migrated here to the United States. They are dual citizens. They speak both English and Ukrainian, and that is often used when using mercenaries in another country. You don't just send mercenaries, cold turkey, English speaking only. However, we have already in the past played for you here on Israeli News Live American fighters there inside of Ukraine back during the actual, on the start of the Maidan coup, that did speak English and were caught on camera speaking English. But it doesn't surprise me that they did speak Ukraine as well. What I noticed in this as I played this video for you guys is the fact the lack of ID on the patches of the uniform. That is very obvious of a mercenary fighter not to carry any kind of ID on their uniform patches there, whereas Ukraine soldiers are always identified. They typically have their neo-Nazi type of emblems on their side, Ukrainian flag, etc. These guys don't have anything. And that lets me know that more than likely the U.S. is using dual citizens, Ukrainian-speaking descendants in this battle here. And so I still stand with this, because I didn't just use the image of this video only. I did take with some very strong articles that I'd found as well that supports the fact that we do have U.S. forces working with the Ukrainian forces to advance on Donetsk. So just wanted to kind of clarify that, but also wanted to share with this that yes, there is a possibility that they could be Ukrainian as well, but I believe it's a dual citizenship. Too many red flags in this. And there was another man that posted a comment as well, and I wanted to share that too, that he said that they are trained by special forces that are there, and he said you can count on one thing. He said they are nearby in the event anything goes down. They're right there to catch their backs. So that's something else we got to consider. And there was another gentleman, and I have no idea if he will be listening. I saw his comment. Why YouTube has removed his comment, did not allow his comment up, is beyond me. But he is a Dutch gentleman. And listen, if you're listening in tonight, place a comment, send me your email, or email me you can email me very easily, Stephen Benoon at Stephen Benoon at gmail.com or israelnewslive@gmail.com. He said he's a Dutchman. He's fighting on the side of Donetsk. We would love to be able to talk to you. He says that since he's been fighting there in the region with the Donetsk fighters, he said he has never seen a single Wagner mercenary group fighting amongst the people that are fighting there. I would like to hear more about what this gentleman has to say. Let's get right into the broadcast. So what I wanted to talk to you about tonight, I think it's interesting. This man right here, he's stating here he's a Christian, and he is fighting there with the Syrian military, and he says why he's fighting, okay? Now it says he commands local volunteers against the rebels. He says, I am a fighter for the right cause in Syria against the armed terrorist gangs. I can see that with this periscope a pickup truck moving with a heavy machine gun. Around 90,000 anti-government fighters are in Idlib province, the last major rebel stronghold in Syria. Up to 20,000 of them are jihadist extremists. This is Moduk. This is highly building a silo which is used as a base of the Al-Nusra front, he says. The dominant faction, Tahrir al-Sham, aka the Al-Nusra, follows the Al-Qaeda ideology. When they become humans, we'll make a deal with them, and we'll do a deal in Europe and America to stop their support. Let me back up. I misquoted him. I want you to be able to see it, so I have to move the thing there. And he started talking slow, so I wanted to slow it down. When they become humans, we will make a deal. And wow, geez, it did it again. And we'll do a deal when Europe and America stop their support. Now watch what he says, though. And if the Gulf countries stop funding them and putting the jihadist ideology in their heads, we can make a deal. The guns are silent for now. Turkey and Russia are attempting to set up a demilitarized zone. Commander Nabil says the West is part of the conspiracy to destroy Syria by backing the extremists. Western countries have backed some rebel groups, but deny funding jihadi extremists. You will taste this terrorism in Britain. Your intelligence service and governments in the West. Watch what he says. Planted the evil in the land of good, in the land of prophets, and you will harvest what you have planted in your own countries very soon. All right, around 500,000 people have been killed. Now, that's the part I wanted you to hear. Let me go back to this again. All right, this is the prophetic words right here. Planted the evil in the land of good. All right, we'll back up a little further. Your intelligence services and governments in the West. Okay? Planted the evil in the land of good, in the land of the prophets, and you will harvest what you have planted in your own countries very soon. All right? Now, let's minimize this, and let me take you to Isaiah 17. Now, you guys are well aware the burden of Damascus. Verse 2, the cities of Aurora, Damascus, behold, Damascus is taken away from being a city and shall be a ruinous heap. The cities of Aurora are forsaken, they shall be for flocks which shall lie down, and none shall make them afraid. The fortress also shall cease from Ephraim, and the kingdom from Damascus, and the remnant of Aram, or the remnant of Syria, shall be as the glory of the children of Israel, saith the Lord of hosts. All right? Now that fortress for Ephraim, which is the house of Israel that was dispersed, and of course those remnants of them, all right, are living in Syria to this day. They are the Christian population, because we know that, Paul goes to Damascus to kill all the Christians that are there. It's not changed any, has it? And what's sad is that Christian communities of today that support the terrorism and support the killing of the Syrian people need to wake up. You're still on the side of Saul before he got his conversion. And I'm beginning to wonder, when is the Christian community going to truly have a conversion and recognize that the thing you're doing is the same thing as Saul? And as Yeshua, when he comes to Saul, he says on his road to Damascus, he says, Saul, Saul, why persecutest thou me? My gosh, I mean, Christians need to wake up today, because you're all over there trumpeting and cheering for Donald Trump to send a few more bombs over there. And you got a bunch of so-called Christian Israeli journalists that are willing to tell you the same thing. Oh, support Israel. Blow them up some more. Kill them all. You know what? You just wait. The evidence is piling up in the research we're doing. Oh, yeah. By the way, those of you that are watching the broadcast, we've been hearing from you about, in Google, they've taken us and moved us off the front page. That's because there is a lot of propaganda trying to shut us down, keeping us out of the spotlight. They don't want you to know the truth. They want you to believe only the jihadist side of their story. Especially when I begin to uncover the Zionist agenda and the Jewish Congress, and how that they took and allowed our own people to be murdered in the Holocaust, and how they made a deal with the Nazis. Go back and do a little research yourself. You'll find out in Israel, in the creation of the state of Israel, we had nothing but German products. Oh yeah, Hitler helped us right out, didn't he? Wasn't helping out the Jews. Well, he was helping out the Zionists, because the Zionists were just saying, go ahead and kill you a bunch more. We don't need them here. We don't want the old and the lame and the weak, and we only want the young and the strong that stand and support the ideals. What garbage. Let me show you what this man, though, quoted, and I want to bring it to you. I told you, though. See, Damascus is taken away from being a city. The fortress of Ephraim is going to be no more. But watch what God does. Let's get to verse 9. In that day shall his strong cities be as a forsaken places, which were forsaken before the children of Israel, after the manner of woods and lofty forests, and it shall be a desolation. For what? Thou hast forgot the God of thy salvation. What do you know? Israel's hands involved in this? Wow, you got to be kidding me. I thought we were the light of the nation. And God says, you've forgotten the God of your salvation, and thou hast not been mindful of the rock of thy stronghold. Therefore thou didst plant plants of pleasantness, and didst set it with slips of a stranger. A foreigner. Yeah, you did some planting, all right. It was pleasant in your eyes, but you set in there what? You set in there a strange branch, is really the way that should be translated. A strange branch you put in there in Syria. That was these jihadists. In the day of thy planting, thou didst make it to grow in the seed. And in the morning thou didst make thy seed to blossom, a heap of boughs in the day of grief and desperate pain. That's what you give Syria? And you think this was a righteous thing? And then this man here makes the very statement, and I don't even know if he even realizes what he was saying. Right? Western countries have backed rebel groups, the jihadist extremists. You will taste this terrorism, your intelligence service and governments in the West. Planted in evil in the land of good, in the land of prophets, and you will harvest what you have planted in your own countries very soon. That's a real Christian right there. He knows the word. Whether or not he realizes he's quoting from Isaiah's prophecy or not, I have no idea. But one thing's for sure, that's an eerie statement in light of the prophet Isaiah and what he said. And Israel, friends, is not just the state of Israel either. That's all 12 tribes. That includes European nations and the United States that are all backing these jihadist wars against the people of Syria. Very, very sad situation that we're seeing going on over there. Kind of in closing here, let's kind of finish up here. The accident of the Union MS-10 was recorded on the 165th second of the flight there. As we know, the astronauts on board, including one American, they did come back down safely, landed on the Earth. Very unusual event, though. And thank God they had that escape module to be able to escape this aircraft there. Unlike, unfortunately, here with the United States when we had the Challenger disaster and one other disaster there on re-entry, where our vehicles just totally exploded and we had no survivors. And certainly we remember the families of those loved ones as well that lost families here in the United States in those crashes there. It's very much a tragedy. But in this case here, even though everything went severely bad, at least there was a safe mechanism in there that they were able to all land safely. So that's a good thing to see. Also, I saw this news here on the Amman News there. Watch the Russian military testing their nuclear weapons in a large-scale drills. This is just a bit concerning here when you see Russia doing nuclear weapon drills. These are nuclear bombs being attached to their bombers right there. They attached all of them fully loaded down, and then they took off in the middle of the night of a night flight. Don't know exactly where they were going, but a huge number of bombers that were involved in this. We also had, besides this one there, we saw here them firing off their missiles, again hitting their targets according to the destination. I don't see any of the Satan II missiles being tested, but I'm sure that's a very expensive endeavor that they're saving for only as-need basis. But it is a very eerie time that we're living in, friends, and I cannot suggest enough for people to be in prayer and think about the things that are going on. We're entering into the weekend here, Yom Shabbat, beginning tomorrow evening, and we will be sharing with you our different broadcasts for the weekend there, trying to really go into some deep things. I'm working very desperately, too, on a specific message of things that we've been discovering, and even going back to 9/11. We're going to be getting into that in the very near future. That may be something I end up having to do on Patreon because of the sensitivity of that information. There's going to be quite a few videos we're going to be doing there over the next few days, because they're really trying to keep us silent. I've even gotten some correspondence really wanting me to keep my mouth shut about the truth. You know what, though? Let me tell you something, friends. We've got to speak the truth. You know, what's going on in the Middle East is not of God. And all the prophets warned us about it, said it would happen. The violent among your people will try to establish division. They stumble because why? There are people out there willing to tell the truth. We need the coming of the Messiah, the Mashiach, and the eyes of the people to be open. That's the only way this will ever work. I'm Stephen Benoon. You're watching Israeli News Live. Good evening. Thank you for watching. Please support the broadcast, IsraeliNewsLive.org, or you can even support the broadcast over on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Israeli News Live. Would you like to say good evening to everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Say good evening to our friends listening.
Good evening.
Thank you for watching
Have
Israeli
a good
News.
night.
Yes, you have a great night. Shalom, shalom, guys.